This evening, we discuss the future of Islamic financing and its potential. Malaysia as a pioneer in global Islamic finance. How can we further improve the Islamic finance ecosystem amid the COVID-19 pandemic, both locally and globally? All this now on Money Matters. Welcome to Money Matters with me, Tamina Kausji. On today's episode, we speak to the Chartered Institute of Islamic Finance Professionals, CIIF. This is the body tasked with the role of setting global quality professional standards for Islamic finance practitioners. With me now is CIIF CEO, Dr. Azura Othman. Welcome to Money Matters, Dr. Azura. How are you?
Thank you. I'm fine. Thank you.
Fantastic to have you in the hot seat, especially for the first episode of 2021. Dr. Azura, tell me a little bit about how Islamic finance and what the scenario has been in Malaysia, particularly during the challenging period of COVID-19.
Okay. First of all, thank you very much for having me. According to the report by Refinitiv ICD 2020, globally the growth of the Islamic finance assets up to the end of 2019 stood at about 14%. And of course, with the COVID and pandemic coming in and the global economy being affected by it, we probably will see some sort of impact to the growth. But I'm quite confident that it will continue to grow, definitely, especially nowadays when we have a lot of the customers and investors in the financial market demanding more ethical financing, which is one of the value proposition of Islamic finance. So definitely in terms of the growth of Islamic finance, I don't think there's any effect to it. In fact, I probably would see that a lot more people will be more attracted to it because of the value propositions that Islamic finance has to offer.
Absolutely. Now, speaking also about the fact that COVID-19 has compelled 6 in 10 Malaysians, or that's about 69% of us, to contactless payment, what is your perspective on how Islamic finance can also have a part of that share of actually going into the fintech side of things?
Oh, yes. Definitely. I think Bank Negara Malaysia has also been putting e-payments and digital banking into its agenda. And in terms of Islamic finance, I think similar to other financial institutions, are very much into, taking in technology into the adopting technology into the processes, and we see a lot more people using apps and internet banking nowadays, especially in the pandemic when people are constrained at home. Definitely, the use of technology is going to be more and more widespread among the citizens. So I'm sure in terms of Islamic finance, the technology part will be going to be one of the major things that need to be adopted. I think in terms of the Islamic fintech space, as you know, recently there's a report by INSEAF that mentioned that Malaysia is positioned to be one of the leaders in Islamic fintech in the world. And I think that in a certain extent, something which probably will materialize one day, looking at Malaysia being the Islamic financial leader in Islamic finance and having its
strong fundamentals as well.
Framework are all in place, and we have strong Sharia governance framework that are able to cater for all the Islamic fintech solutions. So these are some of the factors which I think will basically propel the Islamic finance industry in the future. So Islamic fintech is definitely the way to move forward.
Fantastic. Now from there though, in the 12th Malaysia plan as well, Dr. Azura, the government wants to push Malaysia higher in the value chain where several economic sectors have been identified. Among them also there's Islamic fintech and Islamic financing itself. So how can it actually reshape the economy and help us catch up to other high-income nations, particularly regionally, banking on Malaysia's already strong fundamentals?
Okay, in terms of halal industry, as you know, with 61% of the Malaysian population being Muslims.
Yes, so, demographics are certainly in our favor.
Yeah, certainly enough, and to basically push Malaysia to become the Islamic halal hub globally. I see the huge potential on 3 counts. Firstly, the halal market no longer refers to just halal food.
That's right.
And food related. So it now has expanded beyond the food sector, so into cosmetic, pharmaceuticals, health products, and even to services such as logistics, tourism, electronic media, and even Islamic finance.
That's right.
Yeah, and you know, we are already strong in that area. So with the increase of affluent Muslims, and we see a lot more demand in terms of halal travel, fashion, hospitality services. So that is one of the factors that probably will, make Malaysia to be poised to be one of the leaders in Islamic halal hub.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Dr. Azura. Now, of course, let's take a short break. Find us on Twitter. Meanwhile, share your thoughts on the Islamic finance industry's role in rejuvenating the COVID-19 economy. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Money Matters. If you're just joining us, we're speaking to the CEO of CIIF, Dr. Azura Othman, on the Islamic finance industry's potential as well as challenges that still lie ahead. Dr. Azura, from there, quite quickly, going into Islamic finance as well as enhancing the current transparency and integrity of Malaysia's halal industry, commitment to a standard, in the wake of course, the current issue regarding halal certification of meat, will this issue affect the viability and global transparency of Malaysia's Islamic global offerings when it comes down to it?
Okay. Yeah, in terms of certification, it's one of the important aspects of halal industry, because as far as Malaysia is concerned, and I'm sure in globally as well, in order to have a halal certified products, you need to go through a few stringent processes, and you need to ensure that everything are being done and processed in a halal compliant manner. So in the recent, I think there's certain issues recently regarding the authenticity of halal certification. I'm sure that in a way will impact in terms of the market perception of the certification by the halal authority. But however, I'm sure as a underlying concept of halal is you need to be transparent in terms of whatever that you do. So I think once certain processes are enhanced, and I'm sure that confidence can be brought back.
Yes, that's right, absolutely. Now, it's very important that this also becomes not just the industry standard, but something that is applicable, because one other interesting part is Sharia compliance an internationally agreed upon standard when it comes to Islamic finance, or do we still have different countries having their own ways of interpreting that, Dr. Azura?
Oh yeah, definitely. There's differences. Because in Islam there are 4 schools of thought.
That's right.
Which being in different countries may have, will be using different interpretations in terms of doing financial transactions and in terms of the Sharia law. But there is some sort of conformity, especially in terms of as far as Malaysia is concerned, in terms of what is universally acceptable by the whole industry, because Bank Negara has come up with rulings in terms of what can be practiced by all the banks. But in terms of dealing with other countries which will be adopting different school of thought, there probably will need to be some sort of agreement.
Perhaps a global task force needs to be established.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
From there, moving into some of the other potentials, recently Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Datuk Sri Mustafa Mohamad, said that Islamic social finance is very relevant in addressing current challenges and reviving the country's economy amid the pandemic. How can this be actually achieved, though, Dr. Azura, from your perspective?
Okay, let me look at it in this way. If you were to look back in the last past year, when we were hit by the whole world and the nation were hit by the pandemic,
yes,
something that came out very evidently out of this is that we have the spirit of kita jaga kita, we take care of each other. So basically that is the essence of Islamic social finance. So to me, Islamic social finance has already been there. So in terms of what is the meaning of Islamic social finance, basically it involves things like zakat payment in Islam, sadaqah or charity, which is also being done by everyone of all faith, and qadu hasan, which is interest-free financing. So in terms of zakat, it's already one of the 5 pillars of Islam. So it's already been practiced by everyone. So to say that how can it be used, it has actually been used in the past, and it is going to be used in the future. So what will be more important is how to make it more efficient, so that it will help
streamline the processes
in terms of helping the economy. So one of the areas that I think that can be looked at is in terms of the data, in terms of who are the people that needs the financing, and in which area should we focus in terms of getting the most multiplier effect to the economic recovery. And secondly, we also need the organisation, like for example the charitable bodies, the zakat institution, to be properly managed.
Right.
You have to be transparent. You have to ensure that the funds are given to the right people.
Fantastic. And from there, though, I'll actually ask you to very quickly comment on this, Dr. Azura. According to Moody's Investors Service, Malaysia remains the biggest Islamic finance market in Southeast Asia. Now, this is incredible, considering, of course, that we're not the biggest population-wise. What can be done to maintain, or rather further boost this status? Very quickly.
Okay, one of the things that that need to be done is probably we need to be open to change, and we need to move with the change. For example, Islamic financial system is now moving into technology. So Islamic fintech has to move together. And secondly, there need to be more collaboration with other Islamic financial markets so that Islamic finance globally can have a significant impact in the whole financial system globally. And thirdly, I think it's the talents in the industry. You need people who have the required knowledge to do innovation in the industry. Fantastic. In order to be competitive. And this is where, the part of what the institute that I'm in are trying to help in terms of building the talent pool in order to bring the Islamic finance industry to the next level.
Some great insights over there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Azura. Now let's take a short breather. In the meantime, do follow us on Twitter and let us know your thoughts on the discussion so far. Welcome back to Money Matters with me, Tamina Kausji. We're discussing Islamic financing in Malaysia. Now, let's take a look at moving forward in this industry for 2021. Dr. Azura, what I really wanted to ask you about is, looking at the COVID-19 pandemic, do we see the level of acceptance of Islamic financial products and services among the population actually having moved further?
Move further meaning...
yes, has it actually increased?
Okay. Yes, I would think, as I mentioned earlier in this segment, that I think the customers are increasingly looking for value propositions in trying to find financial solutions. And I think the ethical element of Islamic finance is the one that appeals to everyone in terms of where their money goes, where their money are invested. So these are the things that Islamic finance can offer. So in terms of acceptance, yes, I think I don't think there will be any impact in terms of the pandemic versus, the acceptance level, the penetration of Islamic finance in the market. One example that I would like to quote is very recently when the banks provide moratorium to customers.
That's right.
In terms of course, it's both conventional and Islamic, but that is basically COVID-19 has actually shown the humanity side of Islamic banking, whereby, I'm sure by giving moratoriums, their profits are going to be affected, liquidity and so on. But they come, they do.
They come secondary to the humanitarian
that's right.
interest.
They do think about the customer and what's good for them at that, and what is right to be done at that point in time. So I think in terms of acceptance level and penetration, whether it's COVID or non-COVID, I think it will still be going to be,
definitely on the upswing.
Yes, that's right.
So that is actually very positive news. Now, speaking once again about Bank Negara, which has set up the NCF to develop human capital for the global Islamic finance industry, as well as Islamic finance and Sharia-related research institutions. How do you feel, Dr. Azura, can these efforts complement measures already taken to boost Islamic finance locally and perhaps make Malaysia a regional hub for ASEAN too?
Oh yeah, I think that's one element which I think can complement, the potential growth of Islamic finance in Malaysia by having a Centre of Excellence for Islamic Finance in Malaysia. I think INCF was first set up by Bank Negara, and since then we have many universities in Malaysia offering Islamic finance courses. We even have diploma being in Islamic banking being offered in polytechnics. So now we have a professional body, which is what the institute is about.
That's right.
Which give professional qualification to practitioners. So in terms of the move, towards being the Centre of Excellence, we need to have, a more. We need to basically encourage more people to get technical knowledge in Islamic finance and also be professionally qualified in Islamic finance in order to provide the best service and innovate for the industry.
So we're also actually able to nurture the local global force, right?
That's right. And also by having a professional body that will export its qualification overseas, you have exportability of the talents globally. When the qualification get recognized internationally, you can get people from all over the world coming to Malaysia, or from our Malaysian exporting their expertise overseas.
That's right. Dr. Azura, I would like by ending on congratulating you for being listed as, of course, one of the 20 most influential women in Islamic finance for 2020. Tell me a little bit of what CIIF's plans are moving forward for the new year.
Okay, thank you very much. It's definitely an honour. But most importantly, I would just like to mention that whatever I achieved today is basically a group effort of my institute. Okay, in terms of in terms of the institute for 2021, we are going to launch our professional qualification in January, and we are going to continue our masterclasses to onboard C-suites of the industry. At this point in time, we already have most of the CEOs of Islamic banks and takaful companies, as well as their board members, has attended our master classes. And we are going to continue with our CPD program for our members, to basically for them to keep updated, keep updated in terms of their skills and knowledge in Islamic finance. And we are also going to launch a mentor and mentee program, whereby we have a mentoring program for budding talents together with experienced members of our institute, in order to build that talent pool for the future leaders in Islamic finance.
Absolutely. Now, we wish you all the success with that. And very quickly, before we end today's interview, Dr. Azura, your thoughts on what would be the best path forward to actually capitalize and completely capture the available market right now for Islamic fintech, given that Malaysians and, of course, globally, we are all so much more receptive to digitized payments?
Yeah. I think what we need to focus more is on the SMEs because they are going to the biggest contributor to the GDP to the country, and with the pandemic, and I'm sure we need to focus on all these small enterprises to build themselves and scale themselves up in terms of reviving the economy. So I think that should be one of the areas that need to be focused on.
Fantastic. Dr. Azura, it's been an extremely insightful discussion. I just wish we had more time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Samina.
Absolutely. Now, before we go, though, do find us on Twitter and let us know your thoughts about today's discussion. We'll be back next week with more money insights that matter. Till then, I'm Tamina Kausji. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and wishing all our viewers a very happy New Year.